Hey, it's Claudia, and we need to talk about what just dropped this week. Canada's inflation rate for June is out, and it's making waves. If you have a mortgage, if you rent, or even if you buy groceries, this one's going to hit you. Inflation just ticked up again, and yes, that means mortgage rates are about to do something dangerous. Big banks are sounding the alarm. Economists are rethinking their forecasts, and if you're renewing your mortgage soon, you may want to hear this. You've probably felt it too. The cost of living is creeping up again. But what no one's telling Canadians is how the inflation shift actually affects your money. Hey guys, this is Claudia Ragona. I'm one of the Ragona sisters, and if you're trying to survive Canada's financial chaos, you are in the right place. So let's get into it. Let me just start up front by saying if inflation stays high, your mortgage payment could go up by hundreds of dollars a month at renewal. And that's not a scare tactic, that's the math. We've been told for over a year that inflation is under control, but now we're seeing key numbers rise again, and it feels like we're back to square one. But if you understand what's happening and act early, you can actually come out ahead. I'm going to show you how. That's why I'm making this video. Inflation isn't just a number economists talk about. It hits your wallet, your rent, your savings, and more to cool it off. And when rates stay high, borrowing gets more expensive. So if you have a mortgage coming up for renewal, or if you're trying to buy your first home, this inflation report could be the difference between financial stability or real financial stress. And it's not just the big ticket items, it's your day-to-day expenses that are rising too. Groceries, gas, your phone bill, even your household essentials like toilet paper and detergent. They're all creeping up. So when inflation stays above the 3%, it's quietly draining your budget and forces hard choices. We're also seeing people dip into savings, rack up their credit cards, their line of credits, or just cut back on basic needs just to keep up. And that's where the real pressure really builds. And that's why this isn't just an economic headline, it's your life. All right, Stats Canada just released the June inflation report, and here's what it says. Overall, inflation is now 1.9%. That's up from the 1.7% reported in May. That might sound low, but don't be fooled. The real story is in the core inflation, which strips out most of the volatile stuff like food and gas. The core CPI, that's what the Bank of Canada really watches, that's up 3.1%. And that means prices are still rising where it counts. And the worst part? It's not slowing down. Shelter costs are up 2.9%, rent is up 4.7%, and mortgage interest costs are still up 5.6% year over year. Inflation remains elevated in key areas like bread, dairy, and produce. They're still up 4 to 6%. So even though the headline number looks calm, it's hiding some serious heat underneath. Now let's talk about the experts. Here's what Canada's biggest banks are saying. RBC says tariffs are making things more expensive, and the Bank of Canada probably won't cut their cuts in July. Scotiabank and CIBC agree. The numbers just don't justify a rate cut. BMO's Doug Porter says this is the cherry on top of all the strong numbers we've been seeing, which also makes a rate cut unlikely. So let's break down the probabilities according to the economists. As of now, markets are pricing in at 70% chance that the Bank of Canada holds rates. There's only about a 30% chance of a rate cut happening in the next 3 months. Most economists now think we'll see the first real cut in early 2026 and not the 2025 like originally hoped. And don't take it from me. Here's how Global National covered this week's inflation numbers and what it means for interest rates.
I just bought a new car, and cars are insanely expensive now.
For the Lee family, the impact of Canada's latest inflation rate is all about that sticker shock, with the cost of cars jumping the most. The price of new and used vehicles rose 4.1% year over year in June. Furniture, clothing, and shoes were up as well, with lower fuel prices down more than 13% over last year, cushioning the blow.
You're starting to see tariffs creep into the inflation data. You have the U.S. tariffs, but even the counter tariffs. and that's keeping prices higher than they otherwise would be.
Grocery prices are rising too, though that pace has slowed. Food inflation was up 2.3% in June, down from 3.3% the month before, with the price of vegetables seeing a drop for the first time since 2021.
It seems comparing to last year, maybe things have slowed down a little bit. But it's hard to say.
I think I still have sticker shock at strawberries or water. $17 for a watermelon. Yeah, sticker shock.
Factoring out low oil prices and the impact of Canada's consumer carbon tax ending last April, the country's inflation rate is actually about 3%, likely too high for the Bank of Canada to comfortably cut interest rates later this month.
Their target as the central bank is, of course, to control for inflation. So we don't want to see this buildup in prices that we saw, just a few years ago. We want to make sure that there is not a sustained price pressure. And so we think that they're going to hold.
A U.S. interest rate cut is unlikely as well, with inflation south of the border jumping to nearly 3%. Trump's tariff policy is now impacting prices stateside, leaving Canadians to wonder if rising inflation might be what finally gets the U.S. president to back down.
So if you were hoping for rates to go down this summer, it's probably not going to happen. And here's where it gets personal. If you're one of the 60% of Canadians with mortgage renewals in 2025 or 2026, you could see your payments jump big time. Why? Because most people locked in during the pandemic when rates were dirt cheap. Now, with prime rates sitting at around 4.95, that sweet deal is long gone. And if inflation stays sticky, we could be stuck with higher rates longer than anyone thought. Some economists say that the Bank of Canada might not return to neutral rates around the 2.25% mark until late 2026. And that means fixed and variable mortgage rates will both stay elevated for the next year or two. So what can you do? Well, if your mortgage is up for renewal soon, talk to your lender now, lock in a rate before the summer ends, and hedge your risk. That means using your TSFA for inflation-resistant plays like real return bonds or dividend stocks. And don't overlook short-term GICs. I know they're not sexy, but at least they're safe. And they're finally paying real interest again. Build that emergency fund, cut the fat in your budget, and give yourself some breathing room. If this video helped you make sense of Canada's economic chaos, stick around. The next one goes even deeper. And let's talk. Are you going fixed or variable for your mortgage renewal? Comment below and let's compare notes. See you in the next one.